Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for a fight?
1, 2, 3.
Well, I thought a good place to begin is I know that around the same time you were getting started in acting, you were also really involved and energetic in martial arts and taekwondo.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it was always, even if only in the back of your head, you wanted to combine those two sides of your youth into a film.
I think so. I remember as a kid when I snuck downstairs way past my bedtime and watched Enter the Dragon through the banister, and it totally changed my life. You know, my box room got covered in posters of Bruce Lee and started doing martial arts, you know, and it was bumpy at first because I didn't know my right and left. So that's kind of problematic. But I learned so much about, you know, how to channel my energy and like find discipline, and it was amazing. If I ever had the opportunity to make a story and talk about stuff that meant a lot to me, or talk about something of depth, I was like, you know, you can use that genre because it actually, as a humble fan of it, it can hold a lot. It can hold a lot. You know, when someone's seeking revenge, what are they doing it for? What's the trauma behind that? You know, yeah.
Did the discipline or any other lessons you learned while studying martial arts and competing in it, did it influence how you approach your career or indeed this film?
I remember where I used to train, there used to be this thing on the wall that said, train hard, fight easy. And I was like, yeah, that's true, man. You know, it's all in the prep. With this, it was a lot of prep and then throwing it all out of the window in the last minute and adapting.
You mentioned that, yeah, this movie was a Herculean effort of a lot of starts and stops. And were there moments where you feared this movie may never be seen by an audience?
Oh man, I mean, I think I got called like a couple weeks into, like before we were gonna start principal photography, and yeah, my financier was like, we're pulling the plug, like, you know, COVID, it's the budget spiraling, and there's all these things, and I was like, you give me 48 hours. And I got on this 17-hour Zoom call with everyone on the island. I was like, okay, makeup team, how many brushes are in your makeup, you know, pack? 20? Okay, you've got 8. Like, and it was literally like I was learning on the fly, but the film faced catastrophe nearly on a daily basis with border closures and the pandemic and losing actors. And, you know, my dear gaffer died in the middle of the shoot. You know, I broke my hand, I broke my foot, you know, the cards got corrupted. So most of, you know, a few days of filming were lost. Like everything that could have went wrong, but we found a way through it.
Yeah, I know you started in India, but I believe you didn't finish filming there.
Yeah, well, I was in one of the biggest slums in Mumbai, and the pandemic hit, and I remember that moment because I was there for a couple of days later, and we thought, oh, this is going to be fine. And then, you know, a few days into it, like it was like 28 days later in Mumbai, and you know, there was no traffic on the roads, the fog had cleared, it was empty, and I literally got out on the last seat of the last flight out. But the film had died at that point, and we managed to blag our way to Indonesia, having never been. And I was like, oh, I can do it. I've been there, and it's amazing. It's perfect, you know, fit.
You talked very movingly at the premiere about, you know, Jordan coming aboard and picking this movie out of the dirt, is, I believe, how you described it. And I'm curious, how finished was the footage you showed him to get that reaction?
The film was pretty finished. But it was, you know, it's interesting, whenever you get into a creative collaboration, you're not only trying to adhere to your vision and service that, but you're also trying to supply the right product to your distributor or that company or whatever. So, you know, I was chasing a sort of set of notes and a remit, and then I adapted in a different way. But the film, it always has a way of snapping back to its original intention in a way. And Jordan was great in kind of just like bringing me back, like being an earthwire in a sense, and he's super supportive, and I owe him so much.
Well, you say distributor. I know this at one time was headed towards streaming when Jordan came aboard, and he insisted it became a theatrical. Did that free you maybe as a storyteller, how you approached this film?
I guess you love every corner and every frame of your movie. You know, I fought for every single frame of that film. So it was tough, and I didn't know how it was going to be received. But then when I sat down with Jordan and Monkey Paw, he's got, quite a few people in that company. So when we actually sat down and I watched it with a group of people for the first time, I was like, wow, this has some real laugh out loud or like big crowd reaction moments. And yeah, to have an opportunity to have your first movie play in a cinema and not be kind of lost in the kind of swamp of streaming is amazing.
What is the feeling like when you hear, all right, we're going to finish your vision and we're going to get it out there?
I said it in South by, but it's like that, that scene in Pretty Woman where she gets, kind of laughed out of that shop and then she goes back with the credit card after having met Richard Gere. And it was like that moment, I felt like Julia Roberts in that, that moment, like, yeah.
And it plays much better today.
Yeah.
But
it's an odd comparison to make with a movie like this, I know.
Did this movie change at all over the years you were as you were making it? Because again, you had starts and stops. Did your vision change or evolve as you?
Yeah, it had a totally different beginning. We couldn't shoot like the first 15 pages of the script or something because we had to lose a bunch of money because of the COVID restrictions, and it took a big chunk out of our budget to quarantine every actor for 2 weeks and blah, blah, blah. But so I couldn't shoot the opening I had, so I had to figure out a different way to fall into the movie, and that had a knock-on effect because there's flashbacks, and you're constantly reworking and adapting stuff. And I went and bought my own camera, and I needed to get a bit of India in the textures, so I snuck off during my edit and just went and shot some stuff and some sequences and folded that in.
Related to that, I was curious if while you were doing this, for example, did the sequences, this movie, one of the most powerful things is how it becomes about how minorities are being persecuted in India. Did that grow or evolve as you were making this?
That was always at the forefront of my mind. Like, it was a story about the underdogs challenging, the untouchable gods of society, and it's a revenge film about faith in all its beauty and all its brutality, and how faith can be weaponized and how it can be mobilize a whole load of people, and used in matters of land and all sorts of things, and at the same time can be a wonderful teacher. The iconographies, the stories can really fill a child's mind with wonder and gives them, kind of lessons on right and wrong. And for me, that's where the film sits. It's like this like complicated, even the lead character has this complicated relationship with faith.
On the complete flip side of that, then, I did just want to ask, whose idea was it to make one of your character's main weapons his teeth?
I think it was, the whole concept was he's like this caged animal, cornered, and like real violence is messy, it's primal, it's so I just wanted to get the kind of sweaty, gritty, like if your hands are, and you're in a compromising position, you got to use your teeth.
How was practicing holding a knife in your teeth?
Yeah, that's a mad moment. It gets a huge, and we shot that whole sequence as a one take. Mm-hmm. So it's really happy with that one.
I've seen the movie twice now, and it brings down the house each time.
Really?
Yeah.
Man.
Dev, this was wonderful, and I really did love your movie, and it's a pleasure meeting you in person.
Likewise, man. Thank you so much.
You are a beast.